If you've ever tried to lead change, you know that not everybody cooperates right away. Sometimes there's resistance early on in the process, and sometimes that resistance never goes away. With me is Abigail Dunn, my colleague on the faculty at the Center for Creative Leadership, and we're going to spend a little bit of time talking today about resistance. So, Abigail, talk a little bit about why it's important to manage resistance.
Well, I'm really excited about talking about this topic because, for the most part, people get frustrated and they want to give up every time they face resistance. But I want to get leaders excited about embracing resistance and using it as a way of generating options for what I call GSD, getting stuff done.
So rather than seeing it as being something that we should avoid, there's a real opportunity because it means that we're making progress. So what's the bottom line for leaders and managing resistance?
The bottom line is important. Basically, for leaders who can manage resistance, embrace resistance, and use it to create options, they get a lot more stuff done than leaders who can't.
So what does resistance look like? How do we know that people are resisting our initiatives?
Well, resistance takes many shapes and forms, and as a leader, it's important to be able to recognize it because you can't deal with it if you don't recognize it. And so, the easiest form is those who directly oppose you. You can see it, you can hear it in their voice, and you can see it also in their refusal to do what you've asked them to do. But it gets a little bit more subtle as we go along. You can also have those who initially agree with you, but then they'll throw in all kinds of roadblocks to prevent the initiative from going forward. Then you have those who agree with you, but then they come up with all kinds of excuses to not get stuff done when stuff needs to get done. And finally, the most damaging part is those who sabotage, those who agree to your face, and then they go from place to place talking about why others shouldn't support the initiative.
So resistance looks like several different things, but there are some useful strategies that we can provide leaders to help them be more effective at this. Can you talk us through the 6 strategies for managing resistance?
The strategies is the best part of this because this gives you very specific things that you can do when you face resistance, once you've identified it, very specific things that you can do to address the challenge that is ahead of you as a leader. The first thing that you can do is provide what we call what's in it for me, where you help the other party understand what is in it for them. People can only get engaged when they understand what the return on investment is for them. And if you can do that as a leader, it helps them to get clear as to why they should invest their energy in helping you to meet your objectives. The second thing is to surface any disagreements, any counter-arguments, any frustrations. Allow people to surface those feelings in a safe environment. And acknowledge when people do share with you their ideas, their disagreements, acknowledge that you've heard them. And then people will understand that you are not just focused on your agenda, but that you are also interested in their opinion.
So those are 3 useful strategies. They sound a little bit more passive. What are some more active strategies that people can engage in to overcome resistance?
There's one that might appear as if it's not effective, but it's extremely effective, and it's called reframing. And that is where you use questioning to help people to begin to think differently about what you're asking them to do. So you might use a question like, in what ways might we? The other one is exploration. Inviting them to explore different alternatives, different ways of doing things. In essence, what you're doing is inviting their creativity to be part of the process. And then finally, engaging, creating an environment where they can have some ownership on the outcome of the initiative, where you're building a we, not just an I'm asking you to do something, but rather we together are building.
So given that resistance happens and it's a part of leadership and it's a part of the process, if leaders do that really well, what are some things that they should expect?
Well, first, they should expect that resistance is not a permanent setback, that there's something that you can do about it. And certainly all the strategies that we've given you are part of what you can do. And understand that resistance is part of the process. It's not a separate thing, it's not a bad thing, but it is just part and parcel of the process. And if you embrace it as a leadership challenge, then you can begin to use all the strategies that we've just recommended to help you move the resistance to a place where it actually creates new options for you. And think about it. As a leader, when you face resistance, you're in great company. Think about everybody from Walt Disney to Nelson Mandela. They all faced resistance before they eventually reached success. The strategies we provided for you will certainly help you as a leader to embrace resistance and use it to create options.